It all happened a long time ago. I lived with my family at a large property called Gladstone Villa. It was a 3-story building. My family were Bill and Rita. They were my maternal grandparents. And also living at the property was my mother and father, Douglas, Dexter, and Caroline. They married in 1968, and I was born in the summer of '69. And it was then that my mother said things started to happen. My family were downstairs doing the daily routine, watching television or other things. And all of a sudden they heard what sounded like somebody jumping from the attic down to the landing. Naturally thinking that somebody was trying to break in. Ridiculous as it sounds, because it was a large property. So how could somebody get up into the attic? But nevertheless, they went upstairs. They didn't see anybody there. But what they did see was the hatch to the attic was open. Now, they didn't think at the time there was anything paranormal, but they were baffled. So they just went along their natural thing and didn't think anything of it after that. But whatever it was, eventually occupied itself in the main bedroom, which incidentally was my grandparents' room. It would make its presence felt by walking around the bedroom. And footsteps were heard on a daily basis, with the occasional bang. Dragging sounds could be heard. There would be signs on the wall, unexplained, unknown signs, a square and 2 lines by the side of it, like it was trying to communicate. I was a baby at the time, so I don't remember any of this. And my cot was placed in the bedroom, obviously, and whatever it was seemed to have focused his attention on me, or didn't like me for some reason, took a dislike to me. But according to my mother, my pillow in the cot was torn completely in half. It was well that I wasn't there, but it was so bad that apparently I was told I had to be moved from that bedroom. And I'm just glad I don't remember that. Footsteps just continue, daily activity, relentlessly. And there was a priest called there too, and he said some prayers, blessed the house, and duly left. But before he left, he said, "Watch the baby." Of course, it was quiet after a few short months after that, but it did return. And this time it decided to show itself. There was one evening, we were all watching television, apart from my grandmother. She was reading a book on the settee. And my mother just happened to turn to her left to look at her mother. And she saw the full, solid apparition of a monk. He was a short monk as well, because when she described him, you could only see his shoulders above the settee. We didn't see it because my grandmother was reading a book and my grandfather Bill and I was watching television. But I did see, well, she described it after. I just saw a monk. And my grandmother said, "What?" "I've just seen a monk." And she described it with a brown habit with a hood over the head, and she didn't see the face. Now that to me sounds like a 16th century monk. There was other sightings, but again I didn't see it. In all the times I was there, I never did see it. But I heard it every day and I witnessed what was going on. I saw the minor poltergeist activity. It wasn't going on 24/7, so we did live a relatively normal lives. I would go to school, come back, have my meal, go to school and tell people that was going on. So it was going around that Gladstone Villa was haunted. And my father also told people at work when he worked at the bakehouse in Baldwin Street. And my mother's, and this was during the day, that because it was so bad that we would sleep downstairs with the lights on all night because I was afraid to sleep upstairs. And my grandfather Bill would sleep in the main bedroom, and then because we would have two settees together, and then there was three settees in a large room, you see, and we'd sleep there. And of course, during the day, we'd put the settees back against the wall. And this occasion, my mother just so happened to try and get something off the settee, and she looked to her left again. And I saw, and I've never forgotten, the expression on her face, like one of confusion, as if she saw something that shouldn't have been there. I didn't see it because the door was open, blocking the hallway, so I couldn't see it. I was there, I couldn't see it. But she just said, I saw an elderly man. And she described him with wavy white hair. It was a face she had never seen before. I never found out who that man was. Fred Davis was a family friend. He was my grandfather's friend more than anyone. They would work at Bargoed colliery, and Fred would come up almost every evening. And there was one day, this was in daylight hours as well, I was by the sideboard, playing with my toys as you do as a child. It was quiet, and all of a sudden, bang, from the ceiling. It was so loud that Fred ducked his head, and when it was quiet, he said, well, I thought it was going to come straight through, that's why I ducked my head. And as I say, when it was quiet, we all went upstairs, and we couldn't see anything to account for that noise. And whenever anything would happen, we would wait for it to be quiet before any of us went up there. My grandfather would always be the first. I would be last, because it was that bad. Lights would go off. Fred had another experience when my grandfather and I were looking at the landing window that faced the south of Bargoed town centre, and he said he felt something there pass him, and apparently that was furry. I don't know, but I had my own experience in it as well, because I made sure that the light was on, and I was lying on my left side, and I was looking out the window. I still remember it now. And I felt something jump on the bed. It wasn't one of the cats. It sounded too heavy. I didn't look straight away because obviously I was scared, because I was still a child at the time. This was in the 1970s. But I did eventually look, and there was nothing there. Now, I didn't notice what we saw afterwards. I went downstairs, and my grandfather said, get back upstairs, boy. That's how he would talk to me. He would always call me boy. He rarely called me Andrew. It was as if he wanted something to happen. He was conducting an experiment, I think, because he did it the same with the cats as well, and something affected the cats. And one of the cats ran up the chimney to hide from it, and of course one of the other cats eventually died. But anyway, I digress. The family and I went upstairs, and what we saw was unbelievable. We did see large paw marks imprinted on the bed, and they were large, not cat paws. And I didn't find out until years later that my grandfather Bill kept a dog, a black Labrador dog called Tovy, Tovy, unusual name. The dog died before I was born, but I do remember seeing dog leads in the spare bedroom overlooked Cardiff Road, and on that veranda. It's not there anymore, But I used to go on that veranda. But I was safe, obviously. I wasn't, when I used to go out to play, I used to play on the go-kart and I would never go off that road. And there were just so many things that I find hard to explain rationally. There was a medium that came there, and he went into a trance. He was there for a little while, and he had asked the questions of how long have it started. But anyway, he came out of that trance, and he failed to get a name or make any contact with it. But what he did say was it's an earthbound spirit, grounded, whatever you want to call it, and it had unfinished business. So our experiences wasn't quite as dramatic as what you see in films, paranormal films that are said to be based on um, true stories. I daren't mention any names, not to name drop anything, but yeah, yeah. There was Ivy France. She was a friend to my grandmother Rita. Ivy was in her 50s, and she was skeptical. Now she didn't rudely say that we were lying or mistaken, or maybe she thought we were mistaken, because I can still remember her now going up into the bedroom and with a strong Welsh accent. It's the vibration it is from the traffic outside causing it. And of course, it didn't take, what astounded me, that it didn't take too much or too long to convince her that there was something there. And it was her that got the medium involved. And she also wanted the local press involved as well. My grandmother wouldn't have it because she feared ridicule. Now, obviously, I've shared this story many times and I'm not concerned with what people think because I know what happened and I know that it did happen. I agree and I admit that there was a rational explanation for some of it. I have tried that many times because I didn't think how it could possibly happen. Like the time when we was all watching a horror film and it was a film called The Fiend with No Face. Little brains. That's an old black and white film. Little brains are going across. Some of you might remember it. I don't know, of people of a certain age. But it was shown on ITV in the 1970s. I can still remember it now. It was quiet, just a normal evening watching television. And all of a sudden there was a loud crash in the bathroom, in the main bathroom. And when we went out there was a, my mother and my grandfather claimed to have heard a baby cry in there. Now, as I didn't hear this myself, I didn't take any notice whatsoever. But it was coming from the wardrobe. And I can remember now when the electricity went off, because we used to have power cuts in the 1970s. And my father, well, oh no, my mother actually saw that the wardrobe door was open. Of course, my father checked to see what was inside it, and there was nothing there. But I saw a little hole. Like I thought, well, you know, in there. But yeah, we left there in 1978 when two local businessmen, uh, Rissy's, John and Aldo Rissy, they've got the cafe here now. Well, their son's got it now. John's retired. But yeah, they bought the property and we moved to a council estate. And I did some research into it because um, Gladstone Village became Red Park Hotel, and I had my 40th birthday there with my friend Nicholas. And the staff said, "Oh, we heard things here too as well." Blah blah blah. And we went over to the Rafa Club because it was apparently all coming from there. And there was supposed to be, one of the teachers said, there's supposed to be tunnels, a legend of a tunnel that goes from from the Rafa all the way to Gate Church and Llancairn Manor, and I did some research on Bargoed Library and also I came across newspapers where I found the residents that lived before us in 1924. Evelyn and Alvin Kimmiott. They were a newly married couple, and they married in 1923. Their baby was born in 1924, and Alvin Kimmiott was 4 months old when he died there. But I explained that. And the monk, I did find out there was a monastery there, and there's still very little of it remains now in between Baldwin Street and Henry Street, which incidentally, where my grandparents met. Actually, no, where my parents met in the bakehouse. So, and I was supposed to be a priesthood at the Rafa, and I was told that it's possible that the monks are buried there. So that explains the sightings of the monks. They were there in the 16th century when Bargoed was a farming area before it became a marketing town and before it became a mining town. So I just thank you for watching this, and I'll say bye-bye. Don't have nightmares.